All about the future. Worship regardless. Hey, young people, don't be discouraged. Just be encouraged. Don't be frustrated. Just be elated. God's got plan for you. He wants now to prosper you. He will take care of you. Let him finish that work in you. All about the future. Yeah. Oh yeah. Same on Zion youth.
Before we let the guests come, and I see Tamoya and Kenita discussing, so I want to hear from them first. I want to hear from them first. But as you were speaking, my the next question that can be added to this is, how long do you decide, right? What's the timeline? How, because you're saying that you don't overshare too early, but when is the right time, right? For me personally, I people often say that I wear my heart on my sleeve, right? And I always say I'm an open book, right? It's not that I'm blowing a trumpet on my business, but if you ask me, I'm not gonna lie to you, right? So this person that I'm talking to, very early on in our conversations, we were talking about some deep emotional stuff. Right? This is like week one. We are talking about like some deep trauma, some deep things. And because of that, it allowed us to be vulnerable early, but also develop the trust necessary to further the depths of our relationship. Right? Um, But some persons, they say, well, all right, I'll give him a 3-month test, right? And wait 3 months before we start let out certain things out of the bag, right? Wait a 6 months before whatever. But the way I see that is that you're setting up, you give yourself this time frame or whatever, you set up this image for that period of time, and then all of a sudden you drop this bomb. I don't know. I feel like that can work against a person. Um, I feel that, I don't know. I just feel like just be honest with yourself. If you're not comfortable, and I think this is a key, if you're not comfortable enough to be vulnerable with this person, are you sure you should be courting or dating this person? That's what I would ask. If you're not in a space where like you're not willing to tell them the worst traumas. Let me tell you something. When I was talking to this girl early on, right? If you listen to the podcast, the men's podcast, I think it's episode 4, right? I shared a lot of um my personal struggles as a young Christian, right? But even in that podcast, because of time constraints, there are certain details that I had to like scrunch up real fast, or certain things I have to just skip over, right? And I remember the night where I was sharing it with this young sister, right? When I was telling her like who I was, believe me, I never feel so nervous in my life. And that wasn't the first time I was telling that story, right? I've told that story to hundreds and thousands of people, but this time it felt different, right? I was almost shaking the entire time I was talking, because I was like, this is it. It's either she's gonna stay with me and she's gonna see that I'm a different man now, or she's gonna say, boy, once a croft, always a croft, and gone about in business, right? And so if you're not at that space where you don't feel vulnerable or comfortable enough to share certain depths, I think you probably should reevaluate those relationships. So go ahead, Kenita.
Before Kenita comes in, you exactly said what I was driving at. And when I said share too early, as you expressed, just as we covered non-romantic relationship, the friendship develops. So it's when it gets to a developed state, that's where all of those information can unload. But what I'm saying, sometimes we can like a person and in our mind, this is it. So we go out sharing, and when you get to a certain point now in that relationship, it might not be what you expected. But what I'm saying is that sometimes, pouring out so much before actually getting to know that person can be of a great concern. So just like non-romantic relationships, get to know the person first, build up the trust, build up whatever you need to build up. And then, as you go along, because this is the process. It's not one thing where, okay, me like, you're going to know my whole life story. You're developing into the relationship. All right, Kanita, you can go ahead.
All right, so I had so many things flowing through my mind. I'm trying to remember to put it together. So as it relates to the first question, the transition from friendship to courtship, and how do you balance that? I was thinking, you have to have a high level of self-control, and you have to know you have to set boundaries for yourself and for the other party. So if you know in your heart of hearts that you cannot be in a closed environment with this individual alone, don't put yourself in that position to say, let me see what will happen. Let me see if I can tug it up. Let me see if I can be woman or man enough. As well as for the other part of the question about, what was it again, Romain?
God no, me remember. God no.
I think his question was along the lines of like, how long do you wait before you tell them stuff?
That part. For me, if I am comfortable with you, right? For me, it doesn't take 6 months for someone to be comfortable with you. I think that's something that you can develop in less than a week. It all depends on the person and the type of relationship or friendship that you guys have. So with saying that, I don't think there's necessarily a time frame for you to say, oh, as what Romain was saying, after 3 months, I'm going to tell him that I fell and broke my knee when I was 5, or after 6 months, I'm going to tell him this. No, if you're comfortable with the individual, sometimes you're not even think, you're just a chat. And if at the end of the night, you're like, we spent like 6 hours on the call, like, you're not even realizing. So I believe once you're comfortable with the individual, you're going to be able to let your walls down without even thinking or second guessing. And if you're in a position where you're saying, oh, if you can't tell him this, then really and truly, I think you should go back to Nicity and pray about it, because clearly there's something wrong there.
Brother Chavan, come in.
Love it, my brother. So before I get into the thing that I actually want to, the first initial question, people of God, we have to be careful in our dealings. We cannot just be out here thinking that we live in a perfect world, because we don't. Just as how we have to guard our souls from the adversary, we have to guard our hearts. We have to, not everyone will have genuine intentions, and we have to take time to figure that out.
That's true.
We have to take time to figure out that Brother Romain is only talking to me. And when I'm assured that his Brother Romain is only talking, when I'm sure that Sister Biari is only talking to me, then we can get to a certain place. So we have to, those things have to be clear. You have to give, but we have to understand, marriage isn't going anywhere. Marriage is not going anywhere. So there's no, if it comes naturally and you're at that place early to share and to really just, to God be the glory, great things he has done. But at the same time, it shouldn't be your thing that to make it happen early. So it's about the natural flow of the thing, and at the same time, withhold some, you have years ahead of you to talk. Withhold some stuff. Don't be like on the first day, everything, the first week, everything. You don't want to run out of stories, man, my guy. You can run out of stories. Let some stuff be reserved. But in terms of operation in courtship, I'm going to say the thing that we always say, but but people don't take serious enough. And it's the thing that we're supposed to say to people. It's cliche for that reason, but it's true. People of God, we cannot tempt the devil. We cannot give the devil what to use to wreck our lives.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm building a spiritual house, I am not going to give the devil a wrecking ball for him to hit it down.
Come on, man.
It's as simple as that. So you find then that firstly, we have to have pure intentions. We have to have pure intentions, and we have to understand that the scripture says it, neither give place to the devil. So in having pure intentions, keep the conversation as clean as possible. Keep the conversations clean. If it's very old school, I know people don't do it anymore, but don't be going certain places by yourself. Don't. We were at Buxton's Youth Day, and they did a little skit thing with the whole relationship thing and attraction in the church. And Sister Zandra said something that was very important. Don't play the hero. Don't think that I'm strong enough to resist a particular thing, or this thing will only go to here and no further. If in having pure intentions, we also have to protect the person that we're dealing with. So if I'm speaking to a sister, it's my duty, especially as a man, to protect and preserve wherever I found her in God. It should not be that she got worse after she met me.
Come on, man.
Protect and to preserve and build up. It should not, man. Even especially when it comes down to marriage, it's not for us as young people to be hot and vibrant now and married and get cold.
Pop down.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. So you find that then we have to combat all of these things, to combat the enemy. It should never be a thing that you're in communication with someone, your heart is given to someone, and at the same time you're praying by yourself. At the same time you're reading predominantly, mostly by yourself. It's a sign of the worst.
Worse.
Because we are it sounds really cliche and holier than thou, like God have it in everything, but God be in everything.
Come on, preacher.
God be in everything. So no man, serious thing, man. We have to understand that marriage is forever. Marriage is forever. So you find that we have to, if you allow yourself to not build a spiritual and a strong thing from the beginning, and you allow the devil to have a marriage to be the thorn in your flesh, that's years of hurt. That's years of heartache. That's the rest of your life in trouble. The rest of your spiritual connection always at risk. I don't believe people understand how serious marriage is. Marriage is so serious, Brother Romain. At a certain point, this is just a joke, but I was talking to a sister, and I remember saying to her that you better be serious about God, because if you, and I'm kidding, but if you think that you're gonna come and marry me and leave a church, and worse, leave me kill you. Kidding, of course. But we have to understand as people of God, the seriousness of this thing, because too often you find a brother sitting way on the left and a sister way on the right, and the worship isn't there. They come. Marriage supposed to make the service of the Lord sweeter, because you have that person praying with, you have that extra strength, you have that. But you know that I'm not going to night service tonight, and you feel bad because she gone left you, so you gone too, and you get a blessing at the night service, you get a blessing at the that's what. So in while I spoke to preference earlier in terms of physical stuff, and believe me, I'm all for the physical. It's necessary to have that physical thing, but it's more so important to have spiritual preferences. If you're listening now and you're in communication with someone, and you realize that this person is a child of God, and they've never suggested fasting together, they've never suggested prayer, they've never suggested reading a scripture, but they want to come talk about what are you wearing, they want to come text us some late hours of the night, and these are the things that it doesn't tear you down today, but believe me, one day it will tear you down. Zion is not big enough to be losing people. We're
Come
not
on,
on that
man.
level that we can risk losing people. Brother Romain, preacher, we need you. And we don't need you shrivel up and weaky and wishy-washy, quashy yoke and all of these things.
Praise him.
We need you strong, brother Jamal, preacher, we need you, my friend. We need you strong with encouragement. We need you strong in the word with it. We need people we need to understand what this relationship thing is. You cannot, but even when the Bible says to be unequally yoked, as you mentioned before, it also means that if they put two ox together, if one is super stronger than the other, they can't walk in a straight line. They will. It's a good chance that if one drifts off, the direction will change. And in farming, you know, you want a straight line to your corn and your ray.
Yeah.
It have to be equally yoked, because if you go pick up somebody that the turn that their turn is not to righteousness, there's a good chance that you would follow. It was just Sabbath. I was encouraging a young lady at church, and I was trying to encourage her in the Lord, saying that the fact that she's not single now, she needs to set up herself when I come in the church, because I believe that we underestimate the power of love. Love is a powerful thing. So you find that today you will think that you will stand on the word no matter what any boy wants to say as a female. But when that love kick in, you don't feel as strong about that statement tomorrow as you do today. So we have to look at this thing. It bigger than just me like him now. And it bigger than just it's our lives that we're talking about here. It's our life. That can be 30 years, 40 years, 67. Our life, especially with young brethren, our life we're talking about. We have to be serious in our dealings with this thing. So don't feel like you're a hero and feel like you can tempt the devil and feel as if you are going to draw this line and you're not going to cross this line. You cannot be building a house and at the same time you give the devil a wrecking ball. Can't work.
Praise it. Go to Nico.
Wow. While I was a bit taken back. I mean, brother Trevon, you said something very, very important and serious, especially if you marry young. And the part that you mentioned about if the person decides that they might come in your life and walk out their life. I mean, what you said, though, it may take us by surprise, but believe me, if thou shalt not kill was not a part of the commandment, many people who are married would get rid of them. Believe me. And that is why it's important. I mean, I'm not married, I'm not a married expert, but that is why it's important to make sure God is directing you. Because you don't want 50, 60 years of sorrow. And you're married, and you know we don't teach divorce. So that's why it's important that we build a good foundation in God, because people are living in heartache and can't say anything. They have nowhere to go. They can't look left or right. They're just there with somebody. So that's why it's necessary that we start good.
The conversation is taking such a life right now. And for those that are listening, there's so much you can ascertain from what has been said. There's so much knowledge and so much information that was poured out so far. I think one of the things that is being echoed but has not been articulated yet is this: date or court to marry. Right? If your intention is just to dare with this sister for 1 year or a 2 year, you make a big mistake. You waste your time and you waste their time and you set up yourself for failure. If your intention is not, if you don't see a wife or a husband in the person that you're talking to, stop talking to them. Stop setting up yourself. And that is part and parcel of the situation that we have. Is that you know me wicked, Sister Nicole. You know me wicked. Say I meet you at 18, right? I talk to you and chat you out, and me have you up on the phone all night, and me lock you down, right? No other brother can contact you. And for 15, 20 years, I know you're not married. A wickedness that. You laugh, but the reality, when you me give you my best years of my life, me me give you me youth, me give you me vim and me vigor, right? Me share my life secrets, me open up myself to you in these vulnerable ways. And for 10, 15 years, there's still nothing. That's a wickedness, man. That's a wickedness. And we need to wake up. Brothers and sisters, wake up. Stop the casual talking. Stop the casual dating. There's a verse in Songs of Solomon's 8. You got the verse 4. One bad piece of book. If you never read it, go read it. You're bad. But the man said, the essence of the verse is saying, don't awaken my love until it's time. Right? Sometimes, Sister Kenita, me have no intention to talk to you. But right now, me in the heat of the moment and me turn on the fire. Right? And we did play cat and mouse. And then when we fall into fornication, we wonder what happened. Let me tell you something. Me was an avid fornicator. Right? Sex not just happen. You know, just drop out of the sky. You know, just fall in that thing. You hear me? It is something that you open up the door and you give place to the thing. Believe me, there's so many moments and opportunities that you get to stop, to cut it off. Because you have to get nice vibes, right? From the conversation, brother Chavan say, the conversation, you know yourself. Everybody know themselves. You know when things start change. You know when the ears start get weary. You get what I say? And when then things start happen, you start feel funny. You don't shut it down. You continue. Next thing you know, you start get into some passionate lip locking, kiss and some deep rub up, some deep hug up, some deep things where it gone far. And it's not that. And the truth of the reality is, an accident. Stop tell people say accident, because an accident. You like it. Tell people say you like it. A reality, you like it. So you're not top. A reality, right? And so you know, and you start take off shirt, you start take off pants, you start take off. All of these things are exit signs where I say, red flag, you gone too far. Turn back now. Do not exit. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Turn around. Right? You get all of these signs if it don't proceed. But you're in at the moment, and because you've set up yourself, you awaken the fire before time. You burn up yourself. You burn up yourself. Right? And that leads into another issue that we have, is that some of them long unnecessary courting and dating we burn fire. Me don't know about you, but me burn fire upon them. Me burn fire upon them. When me see a sister, I must incapable. Why me not marry them? But it should not be, brothers and sisters, where we spend so much time talking about nothing. Because brother Roberts talk about it. The man say, when you let it out too early, what else you gonna talk about? Right? You can only talk about the color so much time. You can only talk about the food you like eat so much time. And next thing you know, you say, all right, this I get boring, you know. You try to spice it up, you know. You try like a one flirt or like a one thing, and then you start mash up yourself. Anytime you see anything that I start, let me tell you something. Get the pastor ready. Get the ceremony ready or leave. Get yourself ready or leave. Because what you're going to do is that, again, you know, just wake up in a bed with somebody. I lie that. And anybody can tell me foolishness, me I run. That is a lie, right? These are incremental things that happen over time that fuels this fire. And if you know you're incapable, remember one time, Pastor Campbell and I were talking, and he said to me, Romain, you know, say we as men, we often feel like we can conquer things. I said, Pastor, what do you mean by that? We always think we're stronger than we are. We always think we're more intelligent than we are. And until we get floored, we recognize that we did weak from morning. The strongest man, think about the strongest man in the Bible and the smartest man in the Bible fell to the same thing. I even remember tell I think it was you, brother Jamal. I said Coochie corrupts. Remember when I told you that? I told him, I said Coochie corrupts. If your mind is focused on just that, you are so liable to engage in acts that you don't need to. And guess what happened? You know, so when you're married, nobody can stop you. You know, so when you're legal and free, you can get it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and nobody can say salam to you. So why rush it? Why pressure it? Why pressure yourself? Do the appropriate things. Get yourself in order. Create a plan. Next week we're gonna talk about marriages, and we're gonna get into some of those struggles. So listen out for the tips on how to prepare for marriages and stuff like that. But right now, what we're saying, if your eyes are on our brother or our sister, be safe, be cautious, be wise, right? Know yourself, know your limits, and don't wait until you get to the line, then you start back off. Set an extra hedge, set a next step. If you know, say, boy, if you know, say, when he come and he hug you, it just too much. It's just too much. Just figure out a cool handshake. It can be fun, it can be cute. It doesn't have to be like a fur. You get me? I say, like, believe me, anybody out there who know, like, when you and that person have like that special handshake, like it builds something different. You get what I say? And so instead of putting yourself in a situation where you're not so close and warmth embrace, you have this cool, unique thing where you can bond over, and it's just between you and them, and it's just as impactful. It's just as special. So be smart and stop lying to yourself. Stop deceiving yourself. Sister Nicole.
All right, Brother Romain, you said a lot. It was very good. And I like that, those who are listening, we're not saying to you and not taking for ourselves. And I like, Brother Romain, that you lay the platform that you're not perfect. And you've learned from your mistakes. You've learned from the things that, you've encountered that now makes you who you are. So in essence, what Romain is saying, pay attention to these things. If you have to play this again and listen back to what was just said, listen back to it, because sometimes, as you are rightly saying, this is not, a platform to shame anyone, but to get us, to be in the right frame as we approach this. And these things that, we're talking about, I mean, it may not be PG-13, right? Or PG rather, but we have to put these out there, that these are some of the things that unfolds as people get to know each other. And that is why it's important, someone said it earlier on, to make sure that we have these guidelines in all that we're doing. And you see, sometimes our likes and our strong desires just motivate us to even go beyond what we're supposed to do. But what I want to my final point that I want to end with is this point. To our guests, when we're getting to know someone, even when it gets to courtship level, where does discretion come in? Should everyone know that you are with this person? Should it be established that this is your person? Where do we stand where discretion comes in? You're getting to know this person and the relationship has developed. You haven't gotten to courtship yet, or engagement or anything like that. Where does discretion stand?
Hey, Charlie, the answers now, yeah, they call. I'm gonna work backwards. I want to hear Chanel, then Tamoya, then Kenita, Jamal, then Trevon, and then I'll say my piece.
All right. So for me, I don't think it should be a thing where everybody knows what is going on. I've always heard the statement. This is a thing in Pimento Walk where we say, It shouldn't be that when you get engaged, persons are saying, look from when that will happen, or what make I just know. But it should be a case where, what me never know. It should be more of a surprise than a long time be supposed to happen. Be discreet in what you are doing. It doesn't have to be a thing where everybody knows and persons are being quote unquote annoyed, or I don't think annoyed is the word I'm looking for, but I think you get what I'm saying. It shouldn't be a case where it's in everybody's face, where you're just, be discreet. Be discreet.
All right. So this question, I think, should be from the beginning. I don't think I agree with Chanel. Everybody don't need to know who you're courting. If they know, they know, but don't make a deliberate advertisement, so to speak, about the thing. If you guys go out, because yes, you're going to need moments when you both of you alone will have to go out in order to, get to know each other without the presence of other persons. So if it is that you guys go somewhere and other persons still, yes, word is going to go around, but at the same time, I don't think you should make it a point of duty that every single Sunday morning after prayer service, the two of you gonna beach side and sit down and talk, or because there are other means and ways that you guys can talk or be social or whatever the case may be. So I do believe in discussion, and earlier on I was saying to Kenita that accountability is also important. We should remember that at all times we are children of God, therefore we should reflect such. So we have to live, whether you're courting or courting not, the whole aim is that your soul be saved, and as well as if you're married or aiming towards marriage, the other person's soul be saved as well. So you have to live a life that will not give place to the devil, so to speak. Understand? And my chain of thought gone. Yes, so discussion, use discussion. Go mind. Go on.
All right, so for me, it's beyond just discretion. Where I'm very observant, and I've seen where lots of persons put out that, hey, this is the person I'm talking to, da 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 da, until that doors part before the ring, all of them something there. And when push come to shove, they are nowhere to be found, and them walk go down the aisle and all of them something there. So for me, I'm scared and I'm afraid of embarrassment. I personally don't want to be labeled as a tricky girl that. So if even when me and Chucky stop talk, a tricky girl that, so me still can't get nobody. That's my personal view. But at the end of the day, you're not gonna see where if I'm walking with my person and I see somebody from church, I'm gonna say, cover up your face or look after my hand. And no, because for me, I think when I do that, it leads persons to wonder to say, what are you hiding or stuff like that. But in the same breath, me not go come and say, me lock the boy or him lock down me and all them something there. Because I want to save myself the embarrassment. Should in case anything happen, I can cry in my corners by myself and move on from that.
Okay, so a few thoughts were just coming to my mind. They'll be quick about the discretion. The first thing I wanted to say is that when I see a lot of problems that I hear about when it comes to people keeping it on the low is that sometimes one of the individuals will be talking to multiple people. So I'm not saying that as soon as you get in a relationship, you have to label it, because again, a phrase that I've heard is that too many chefs can ruin the pot. So when everybody knows who you're talking to, sometimes they may give unsolicited advice. Sometimes they may give their opinions, and it may suffocate your relationship with the other person. Because if everyone's telling you what you should and shouldn't do, it can be too much. But again, with a discretion, I feel like, at least for me personally, if I'm talking to somebody, yeah, I'll say that I'm talking to someone, but I may not necessarily say who, if that makes sense, because I don't want to waste anybody's time. I don't want any church sister to think, oh, I might want to talk to him, but I'm talking to someone, but it's a secret. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I feel like I said, I will let it be known that I am talking to somebody, but I may not necessarily say who. And from what Sister Kanita said about like if you're so invested in it and then it doesn't work out, like the labeling stuff. I know for myself, I'm not telling nobody who I'm talking to until God tells me this is the one. I don't want to waste time. I don't want to do that because, like what Sister Kanita said is true. It's like, why would I put so much time and effort and money and everything in somebody who just forgot to tell me that this is not the one? All of that time would have been wasted. So until God tells me and her, because I don't want just one of us to get the yes and the other one to get the no, because that'll cause confusion. So until God like solidifies the relationship to me, that is when I would say, okay, maybe I'll open up and tell everyone who, because at that point, God already gave me my yes. It's like I'm just waiting for the ceremony, like Brother Remain said, like I'm waiting to get set everything up with Pastor. I'm just waiting at that point because God already gave me the yes. So that's my little 2 cents.
Kenita wants to jump in real quick. So jump in, Kenita, and then Brother Tavon.
So based on what Jamal said, it all came back to me. Sometimes you go ahead and it's share the fact that you're talking to some persons, and you share it with the wrong person. So I share with Sister Nicole, and deep down that Sister Nicole heart, she want to take a long time. And me got tell her that no, she starts a girl.
You know.
You know, say this, that. At the end of the day, some persons give a bad advice, so you can leave the person so them can get the person for themselves. So it all goes back to, and everybody for know.
All right. If we love it one more time. All right, this is something I believe that we have to understand. Discretion does not mean that you're keeping a secret, because it's dangerous for the reason that Brother Jamal mentioned, that it gives you the vantage point to be sneaky and talk to a bunch of people. We're not about that. We're burning fire upon that. But also it gives you also the smoke covering to think that I can mess up, I can go here, so I can do this, and nobody knows, because nobody knows me and whoever I talk. We burn fire upon that too. But discretion does not mean keeping something a secret. It means just keeping it between who should know. So me and the person will know. Parents may know, depending on where you are, anything. Close friends will know. At a certain point, at the right point, the ministers will know. And you also have to remember that we need godly advice to grow. So when I speak of discernment, it's not about keeping it like a dirty little secret. And I remember when Georgia, when you guys had the banquet the other day, I was speaking with Brother Jamal, and I was saying he posted a question like a week before the banquet: who had it harder in serving God? And then it was like the men or the women. And what I said to him was that the women have it harder, because women have to contend with the fact that maybe I won't get married based on what the current situation in the church is right now. That's a huge pill to swallow, because everybody have feelings, everybody have desires. When the people your age are getting married, having kids, believe me, it's a gully cut. So you find that we, Brother Romain, have a duty as men in the church to not take advantage of this and play the numbers game. That's a duty that we have as men in the church, to be loyal to because the women are a part of the body of Christ. Also, I want us to be careful how quick we are to say that God told me something.
Come on now.
Because you find that because of where you are and how you feel, you believe that I must God this. But at the same time, people will say that God told them. I know that God works in a myriad of ways, but I'm just going to use one example. People will say that God told them, but at the same time, they were never dreaming and hear a Romain, a Tuki, but God told you. We have to be careful, Brother Romain, and this is careful. This is very important. We have to be careful that our desires does not clone our discernment, because that mash up things, my brother. That mash up things. People run up and down with desire and they're not discerning after God. So and then it's also very important what Sister Kenita says, because I can tell you now, there are a few, it's not a lot, but there are 1 and 2 women in Zion. I'm very sorry. I would never even think of approaching them because of a truth. A Romanian girl, no matter how long she and Romanian stop talk, Romanian I'm a G and no, a Romanian girl, me not gonna talk to Romanian girl. I'm sorry. Romanian married, Romanian has been married for 5 years. But that's the thing. That's also how the mind is set up. So we can't, and it is especially cruel to the women, because for men, it's so easy for us to move on. It's so easy for us to go to the next. Not to make us as men so like predators, but it's so easy for us to move on. But the women are the one who stay with the tags. They stay with the tags and the branding and we move on, people. So we for that, even for that reason, we have to be careful, my brother. We have to be careful. So it's about letting who's supposed to know. It's not a dirty little secret to let you get away with your crimes. It's not smoke covering to get away with crimes. That's not what discretion is. But it's just it's just keeping the thing, keep it between you and God, man. Keep it between you and your minister. Keep it between you and a strong couple that can give you advice on dating. Keep it between you and a strong spiritual sister, somebody can, you get me? So it's not a dirty little secret, but at the same time, it's not an advertisement. It's not something that you're going to book up on CNN and you're going to hear it over IRI FM and all of these things. Because we, as a church, we have to be peculiar in how we deal with things. It's delicate. It's delicate, man. It's delicate.
Got you, Sister Nicole. I see you shaking it.
Oh my God. It's a pity time don't favor us, but I'm telling you, these Brother Romain, these people, I believe God laid them next to them last night. I believe that God was laying right next to them last night, because what's been said, especially that last point that Brother Roberts made, I just want to go back and listen. I don't want to say anything on it. I just want to go back and listen to it. But it's really true. It's really real. We have to let the Spirit of God lead us. And sometimes we think we know it all. We think that, our desire becomes so strong that we dream our desire.
Yeah.
And we become deceived by what we dream, because we want it so bad that you get it in your dream. Right. But the last point that I want to bring up, we established the point that discretion doesn't mean that nobody knows. No, should social media know? Should all of your contacts know? Should we post our person? I know different people have different, views on this, but should that be something that we do if, we are in a relationship or in a process? So you can wrap up your point with that, or if anyone else has anything else.
So to tackle the first question at hand about discretion, I think everything that everyone has said up to this point kind of summarizes what was in my mind and in my heart. There is a difference between discretion and secrecy. And Brother Travon and Brother Jamal kind of elaborated on that. To say that nobody should know until the day, that's where I would find a little bit of hesitation, because if it is the day of the engagement or the day of the wedding, you're finding out who this person is has been talking to for so long, we have a serious problem, right? Now again, if the person is not in your sphere, or is not in your friend group or your circle or whatever, mind your business, right? But if, for example, my brother, right, is talking to a young lady, me no know, that's a problem. I should be able to have a dialogue with him, to talk to him, to check in on him and see what's going on. And so for those protective measures, right? Because once we have this understanding that we don't know everything, and we can pull wisdom from those that have gone on before us. We can take knowledge. When some people have this experience that they need for them, they have to go through things for themselves to figure out what work and what don't work. Yeah, madman. There's a wise saying that says, a wise man learns from his own mistakes. A wiser man learns from other people's mistakes. Spend the time to sit down and to navigate not only your own issues and problems and whatever, but listen to what other people have to say about things. It doesn't necessarily have to apply to you directly. However, you can glean some information, some knowledge, some wisdom that can fortify your budding relationship, right? The other thing that I would probably touch on too is we have to start changing the stigma around how we view women. Like it's men's choice only, and once a man have a mark on you, you can't eradicate that. I feel like that is very damaging, um, a damaging practice within the church. If me and sister iPhone, for example, was talking for a minute and it just not work out, if me go married off and whatever, you cannot say sister iPhone, a Romanian girl, they have a wife. What kind of statement is that you're making? that is go that is going to cause problems in my marriage, right? And then to be naive enough to think that, all right, um, with the limited ratio of men and women that we have, that nobody ever talk to nobody, that's impractical. The likelihood of the person that you're talking to or even married has had conversations with somebody else before is very high. It's a very small church. We believe in keeping it within the organization as much as possible. So unless you're gonna find somebody else in from a different organization or whatever, the likelihood of you talking to someone that is around you who has talked to somebody else already is very high. And another thing that I would just add in regards to this, I remember when I was getting serious about getting married and was kind of scoping out the land. I remember Pastor Campbell said to me, um, as men, we have to be careful in how we deal and treat these women, because one day we will lead them. Right? He was talking to me in a one-on-one. He said, one day you're gonna lead them. One day you and the young men, then we're going to be leaders and pioneers of the church. And we cannot have our names stink amongst the congregation. And so to walk with that respect, to talk with them with that respect is of great importance, right? Comes down again to not being secretive, but to have that discretion. You're not hiding things from people so you can get away with folly, but you're protecting your relationship, which gets into the issue of social media. Now, my view on it is different from a lot of individuals because I personally, if you've been following me for a while, you'd know that um, some of my business is out there, right? It wasn't by accident. It was an intentional and deliberate decision. And what I would say to that is that when you and the person that you're talking to sits down, this is a conversation that you need to have. This is not the ancients of days before there was internet. Internet is a real thing, right? And whether you have a picture or somebody else have a picture, somebody have a picture out there. It may be you, it may not be you, right? But you have to be intentional about what format do we want to portray our relationship? And that has to be a decision that you and your future potential partner make, right? But you cannot make this decision out of a whim. It has to be intentional. It has to be thought out, because the internet is a dangerous place if you don't know what you're doing. Some people would say, for example, no, don't put nothing out there, blah blah blah, right? And I get what they're saying, right? Because again, once you post something, you're opening up yourself to criticism. I detest the fact when somebody puts something up on the internet and they tell it other people that you shouldn't have seen that, you shouldn't have whatever. You put it up on your story, you put it up on your reel, you put it up on whatever. You put it out in the open platform so people can see and criticize and make their commentaries. So when people are saying all manner of things, yes, I will take what you get that you put it out there, right? Can some people just chill out with some of the unnecessary comments? Sure. Could some people recognize that certain things are not as deep as they're making it? Sure. Right? Because the reality of the situation is me posting a picture or me showing some love and appreciation to the person I'm talking to is not as in, right? And if that, because to me, right, the nature of the relationship that I'm in, and this is just a brief synopsis, but it is a long distance relationship. Unlike most persons, we don't get the opportunity to go out for ice cream. We don't get the opportunity to hold hands. We don't get the opportunity to do a lot of the little smaller romantic things that make each other feel special. We don't get the chance to do great grand gestures, and even sometimes to like give gifts and stuff like that. It's very costly to do it on a long distance scale. So a simple thing like putting up a picture or a nice little video of a moment, and just to say, I appreciate, the time and whatever. Yes, I could do that in a DMs. Yes, I could send that to a personal message. Yes. But again, there is no harm or foul in putting it up on other portions of my story. Why? Because I don't see us putting up derogatory things. It's not the fact that we're out there kissing in deep, deep lip lock, right? We're not in a no compromising position. We're not out here flaunting promiscuity or anything like that. It's more while just a nice picture of them or a nice picture of us to get a nice video doing something nice and cute. And I remember the very first time I did it, I did receive a little bit of backlash, but then I also received a lot of positive commentary as well, where people were like, I did not know that these things could happen. Like you can find a good brother and a good sister can really go out and hang out, have clean fun and come back. Because it was something like that I posted up, like, we went out some kind of something. And they were like, oh my God, now I have hope, like that such and such a thing can happen. So there is also benefit in showing people that, all right, there are good relationships out there, right? Because I often said, and I think we even mentioned it earlier in the previous recording, that good marriages are scarce. It's sad, but it's scarce. And some people said that they don't want to put everything out there because they are afraid that things fail later on. But I have examined, and I could be wrong, right? I'm open to correction, but I have examined a wide variety of relationships. And I recognize that most relationships that fail did not fail overnight, right? Many of the issues that people walk away from, many of the things that people decide that they're going to terminate their marriage for, isn't that things that necessarily brewed up in the midst of the relationship. It's things that they saw from very early. But they, as you said, Brother Chavon and Sister Nicole, their desire blocked their discernment. They see that was a red flag. They see that that's a no-go. They see that they shouldn't approach. But they still decided that, what, right now, me just so in love, me just so infatuated, whatever the case is, and they go head on into a situation that they should not be in. And later on down the line, when they recognize, they can't love this person enough to change, and the situation becomes overbearing,
that's where the relationship starts to crumble. I don't think it has a issue necessarily with openness, because the reality is there's a lot of people that don't have their stuff out on the internet and their relationship is still crumbling. Their relationship is still falling apart. I think the important thing for me is communication. Good, healthy, and clear communication, where we can sit down and say, this is the dynamic of our relationship. This is what we want our relationship to be like. If we open up our relationship to certain kind of criticism, it's going to be very challenging. And that's the reality. When you open up yourself like that, people think about your favorite celebrity couple, right? And how much either admiration you have for them or how much disdain you had for them, right? People are allowed to think what they want to think. And when you put yourself out in the open, that's what they're gonna do. So you have to be prepared for the criticism. If you can't take criticism, don't put yourself out there. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. If you can't take criticism, don't put yourself out there. If you and it's in all reality, it's never a need. You never need, and I don't want people to misconstrue it. It's something that we just did, and we're okay with the level that we're at, right? And I say we are post every week, but it's not a couples page or anything like that, not by any stretch of the means, right? But we just did that, and we're fine with everything that came, the good, the bad, the ugly, the pretty, whatever the case may be, right? But we have to be real and to not let people feel, oh my God, I cannot appreciate this person publicly. Again, it's really a personal decision. I believe I could be wrong and I'm open to correction, but that is where I stand on that platform.
Any final commentary before we wrap this up? Because it's a deep conversation and there's a lot more. Any final word?
Praise God. I just want my final word to people who are listening. To be patient. To really seek God, to develop good attitudes, and to also develop yourself into the person that somebody will want. So don't stay whatever development needs to happen in your life, take care of that. But specifically to be patient, because Brother Romain, I don't know about you, my brother, but I am not going to run out of the fire only to return to 5 years later.
No, sir.
Me, brother. Only if you get used to things and not get unused to things.
Come on, man.
Believe me, brother, that's on my line of life that. So better take your time and come out good. Then I have to go back in.
Praise the Lord. And I agree. Brother Jamal, final commentary.
I was just thinking, I kind of agree with a lot that was said. I think the final thing is I'm going to kind of piggyback off of Brother Trevon. Just be good being single first, you know. One thing that I've always heard ring out is that whoever you are while you're single will be amplified when you get into a relationship. So if you're someone that doesn't like to pray, someone who doesn't like to fast, someone who doesn't like to talk to God, that might just get worse. I mean, it could get better, but I want to make sure for me that I get those good habits in now so that, like you said, Brother Romain, when I do find someone, it's like we both go up together. And also, if anyone wants to talk to Pastor about me, I'm from Georgia, so that's there too.
Oh, Lord. I love it. Sister Chanel.
My final word is that no need to run down something that will be there forever. Be patient, wait on God, allow things to work out itself. Don't run down anything.
Sister Tamaya.
All right, so my final word is to just go with the flow. And go with the flow don't mean every time you speak at your fire, you just, go with the flow. But be be ready, be prepared rather for whatever outcomes. If you're entering into something, into a relationship, you have to prepare yourself for both the good and the bad. And as you experience it, learn from it, and so that you're, as somebody said, that you can have a testimony to share, and so on and so forth.
Mr. Ken?
And just to add, ensure that you spend the time to know yourself, know what you want, and don't go into something knowing that this is not where you see your life going. Don't waste anybody's time, don't waste your time, and ensure that in everything you ensure that God is in the midst, God is in the center. You ask for direction and not just ask, but follow the leading of his direction. And with doing so, I think everything should and will work out.
Praise the Lord. Co-host, Sister Nicole, final thoughts, comments, encouragements.
All right. This has been a very long one, but I just want to say thank you to the listeners, those of you who joined in to listen to this portion of the buzz. And indeed, it was a blessing. And as you can hear from the guests who came on this week, honestly, I am like, Brother Romain, they really thought this through, and some of the points were solid. Some of them are things that not everybody will agree with. Not everyone will see things the same way. But even as we wrap this up, we know that, providing this platform or exploring this topic is a form of guide, especially those who are in the process of getting to know someone or talking to someone. The ideas and thoughts shared, these are some things that we should consider. And so thank you to all our guests who came on. It was a pleasure sharing in your thoughts. And so we look forward to another episode of The Buzz.
Praise the Lord. And as Sister Nicole rightfully said, you guys did an excellent job bringing different points out and provoking a lot of different conversations. And I think that is the important thing for this particular episode. When we go back and we evaluate our own respective lives, let us see how can we improve on what we have. Is what we have godly? Is what we're getting ourselves into aligning with the will of God for our lives? Many things that were said tonight is key, is golden. You can pick it up and you can run with it. Many of them were also things that you may not agree with. You may have different takes here and there about it. But again, it is important to have these discussions. It is important to have these conversations. So that you can fortify yourself, so that you can know what you're about, so you can know what you want and what you don't want, your preferences and the things them where you can throw through the window, and whether you're listening to God or not. All of these things are crucial. And as young people, I want us to take away this, that the quality of your marriage, right? The quality of your marriage affects the worship in church, right? If you and your spouse now live good yard, it's gonna affect the entire service. Believe me. If you and your spouse cannot get along together, the entire church is gonna feel it. And the sad thing is that there are so many broken marriages. There are so many. I remember talking to somebody, man, and there was like, bro, man, there's no example. I had to backtrack and tell them, say, like, yeah, there are examples. It's just not a lot, right? But it is imperative for us that are coming up to look at all these telltale signs. Look at all the different things that are going on. Listen to some of the stuff that was said tonight or today or whatever time you're listening to this episode, and make the adjustments so that we can have our relationships and marriages blossom into lifelong partnerships, so that the generation that comes after us, they can see us as examples and say, if Brother Romain and Sister Joe can make it, then then there is hope for me. And for those of us that believe that there is no hope, for those of us that say, boy, there is not enough men, or there is no quality of women, or anything like that, I'm imploring you to trust God. I'm imploring you. Let me tell you something. God is a God who speak and things happening, man. You get what I say? The entire world was shaped by his breath, So if you serve a God like that, you think man is a hard thing to come by? You think woman is a hard thing to come by? So I implore you, I encourage you to trust God. He will deliver. He knows what you need. He knows exactly whom you need. And in our next episode, we're gonna talk to some real vulnerable people that get into the different struggles of early young marriages. And so if you're interested in learning about that next transition, what does early marriage look like, feel like, what the different stuff that you go through, I'm encouraging you to tune in next week to find out. This has been a wonderful and engaging episode of The Buzz. God bless you. See you same place next time, next week.
All about the future, yeah. Oh yeah. Same on Zion,